Hello, this is Dr. Ari Vandewa. I'm the Assistant Professor of Trombone at the University of South Alabama, and you're listening to the 2023 High School All-State Lyrical Podcast. I always say this, but remember that first and foremost, All-State auditions are a test of following the directions. Be sure to observe all dynamic and expressive markings on the page, in this case, especially the rallentandos, all right? Carnival of Venice is one of the most probably well-known tunes in the repertoire, for brass players especially. It's frequently performed on a wide variety of instruments, so if you're not familiar with the main melody, I recommend listening to recordings for reference. Of course, this is just the introduction. One thing that I think separates this lyrical etude from past lyrical etudes is the style. While we do think longer and more song-like when we think about lyrical etudes, the 6/8 feel and the main melody should feel kind of lighter and bouncier than we would usually approach. So one element you can use to focus on in order to help this style is the tempo, right? If the melody becomes too slow, it's almost impossible to keep the character light and maintain the sort of classic Carnival of Venice sound. And if it's too fast, it's going to sound frantic and nervous. So make sure that as you practice, you're really focusing on locking in that prescribed tempo of 60 beats per minute. Don't let it drag and don't let it push too much. The grace notes in this piece are also extremely important for capturing the character of the music, especially because, remember, Arbin was a trumpet player, and so a lot of these are sort of valve embellishments that we would expect to see that we have to sort of emulate on trombone. For euphonium, this should be semi-natural, right, and almost a normal embellishment. You can follow the instructions in the Arbin book to the T. For trombones, it may be helpful to sometimes use alternate positions in order to sort of make a slur out of some of these grace notes so that the air does more of the work for you. I also prefer to wait until the quote-unquote last minute for the turn in order to sort of build the excitement towards its resolution, right, to create that tension and that sense of showmanship. Rhythmically, much of the piece is very straightforward. Try to highlight the resolution of the pickup notes in order to clearly telegraph the meter. Bum 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 betty dum bum bum bum. In measure 23, make sure that you don't move early to the downbeat of measure 24, as that B flat eighth note is not a pickup note. So stretch that out the full way. Don't make it sound like it's the last eighth note of that bar, but rather the first eighth note of a new measure. You shouldn't need to use any sort of multiple tonguing at this tempo, but if you do, if you have a very slow single tongue and it's the only way to get some of these embellishments or these fast 16th note triplets out, just make sure that you don't let it get too heavy or that you let it get too separated or that you let it change or manipulate the rhythm. Finally, make sure that accidentals carry throughout the measure and that your fifth position notes are always in tune when you use them. It can be very, very, very beneficial for both pitch and style if you practice singing through the melody before playing it, especially on these lyrical etudes. Thank you so much for listening. Good luck and happy practicing.